episode 77 on the 9 Point Started with a Dream podcast.
Welcome to 9 Point Started with a Dream podcast. Our goal is to showcase the stories of athletes and the community that supports them by being authentic about their journey. Here's your host, Jacoby Gillum.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, as always, Jacoby Gillum. So the world of sports, man, it's fun because everyone is connected in some form or way. And a few months ago, we were working on our magazine for magazine issue number 3 with LRT Sports about recruiting. And I was connected with Kaylin Elwin. She's over, marketing for LRT Sports. And she emailed me to connect with Karlie Smith, one of her former teammates. And Karlie is now working for UGA in their media department. And she was like, you should meet Karlie and interview her at XYZ. And I got on Karlie's podcast, and it's called All Him. It's about faith, and it's about glorifying God, and how in sports there's always that connection. And with athletes, right? You see athletes point to the sky after they make a shot or after they score, whatever it may be, and how they thank God after a play, whatever, and stuff like that. And I interviewed her on this episode right here, and you meet people in life that just have a great energy, and you can just feel that. And there's so many athletes out there that are like Karlie, and I hope you go listen to her podcast, All Him, because it shares another element of sports that isn't highlighted enough. The element of faith, and how it guides us, how it motivates us, how it keeps us going through adversity. So I hope you enjoy listening to Karlie's journey. Hope you enjoy listening to her story and how she tries to glorify God in her daily life. And let's get to it. Karlie, the question I ask everyone that comes on is, when you're younger as an athlete, what was one of your bigger dreams or goals you wanted to achieve?
When I was an athlete, I just wanted to play in college, truly. I mean, I played softball my whole life growing up, and I was just looking to pursue a career and get a scholarship and play at the next level. I grew up playing softball in Delaware, in a really tiny county. There's only 3 counties in Delaware. I lived at the most southern one, called Sussex County, Delaware. Both my parents strongly supportive, but I was the first child. I was the first one going through the recruiting process. So for all of us, it was completely new. And I just knew Delaware. I had traveled down and up and down the East Coast, a little bit west for softball. So my goal was basically just to get myself out there and get college coaches to see my skill level and hopefully, recruit me to play for their team. And so that was my goal. I didn't really have a specific, I need to be in this conference, or I need to play for that school because of that coach, because I didn't really know anything about what the college scene was like, or what being a Division I student athlete was like. I had no clue. So it just worked out in my favor that I ended up going to a camp and was recruited by a coach, and ended up playing at a Division I school, which was the goal ultimately, was to play D1 and get a scholarship. And I had thought in college that, or prior to college, I said that I want to go down south. I want to try something different. I want to get out of Delaware. So I did go down south, and I did get out of Delaware, and I realized I actually missed the north a little bit, even though I still live in the South now. But that was just my mindset. I just wanted to play at the next level. I didn't know what that looked like. I just knew I had the desire to push my skill level and get a scholarship and continue forward in my career, because softball was all I knew, but I didn't know what was out there.
I can relate to that so much, just it's that D1 dream.
It totally is. It totally is. And I think nowadays with recruiting, and just now even working in college athletics, my eyes have been open to that process so much more. There's so much more out there than I knew about. And I think just, the game, especially now with the transfer portal and everything just being so emphasized and where you go and play, I think recruiting is continuously increasing, and more opportunities are being available for student athletes. And I think it's awesome. But I just remember looking back, and I had no idea what was ahead.
So for you, you said you want to be a softball student athlete. That was like your goal. So at which point did you kind of say, I want to go on softball over other sports?
Well, I played 3 sports all throughout high school. I was field hockey in the fall, swimming in the winter. My mom was a swimmer. She grew up swimming, so that's where I got the swimming aspect of my life. And then softball was year round. So softball had always been my number one. It was just something that I had really taken a passion to early on. And I just remember being in Little League, and that was before, like, the days before travel ball was a thing. And I just loved it, and there were so many cool opportunities. I got to play with a big league softball team that went on to play in the Big League World Series, the things that they post on ESPN. So it just provided so many cool opportunities for me, especially early on in life, that, it became a family affair. My family was invested in it. I loved going out, taking reps, going to practice with my grandfather and my dad. And, I had such a strong support system, but I loved playing the other sports too. And if I had chosen swimming, my parents and my family would have been all into swimming. And if I had done any other sport, they would have been all into that as well. But I think it was just kind of evaluating my skill set in softball and just my desire to get better at it, the amount of time I spent practicing that game or looking up to other people who were playing softball ahead of me. So softball definitely was the route, but I did enjoy playing other sports in college. And I think that just helps an athlete become very versatile in all aspects of their sport when they do have those, outside kind of skill sets developed based on other sports. But for me personally, I remember it was when I started to get recruited, especially in high school, when I really narrowed my focus on softball. But I always kind of had those in my back pocket, just played for fun, Sports are great. I love sports, so continued with those until college.
Did you hit dingers?
I was a line drive hitter, actually. Hit for contact, get on base. No, I mean, sometimes I would hit home runs, but I guess probably in the world now of baseball, softball, home runs are not mistakes. Home runs are intended to be hit every single swing. But when I was growing up, home runs were mistakes. You were supposed to hit line drives to get on base. I was a line drive hitter. I was trying to hit it through you, not past you, even though I would occasionally, which was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Like, my coordination isn't there. So for me, baseball and softball just is not the move for me. But I can run bases. But the hit, contact.
I'm sure you were so fast. That's great. Well, strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly. So for you, you chose ECU, correct? Am I correct on that?
Yes. East Carolina University, yes.
So what about East Carolina kind of sold you on to go there for 4 years?
Sure. So it was actually cool because I hadn't heard of ECU throughout my recruiting process at all. It was just something that I guess had been blinded to me, especially because I was up north with the northern schools for the most part. But I actually went to a school's camp. I believe it was in Tennessee. It might have been at Tennessee. And the ECU head coach was there. And I remember talking to her and, we kind of shared interests. And she said, I like Delaware girls. And for me to hear someone say, I like a girl from Delaware, I was like, you do? Okay, sweet. That's awesome. So I'm from Delaware. And so we started to conversate. And it was actually because she had just recruited and had a freshman on, I don't know if the girl had been on the team yet, but she definitely had committed. Another girl from Delaware had committed to playing softball for ECU. She was a catcher. So anyways, my coach who recruited me my freshman year liked Delaware girls because she had already had a Delaware girl commit to her program. So she made the connection there, and then she had 2 Delaware girls commit to her program. Later on, I ended up going to camps at ECU, and I really did. I fell in love with the softball field. Oh my gosh, it was so well kept, and it's just such a college town, and you really do bleed purple and gold when you're there. And I think ECU is playing tonight. They're playing against Temple, always rooting for the Pirates. And also I grew up at the beach. So I really resonated with the thought of the mascot being a pirate. Like, I would go online to their social media and see like waves and a pirate. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be near the beach. Like, that's going to be great too. It's still like an hour and a half from the beach, but it's still East Carolina. You're still on the coastline. So I was provided with the opportunity, to go down and play for them and also have education. And it seemed like the right fit. It seemed like that was where I was supposed to be, and it all worked out.
So I know for me, when I took that step in that freshman year, I realized that college athletics versus high school athletics is like a night and day difference. So for you,
Yeah.
was that transition easy? Was it, or was the game still just the same? Were you when you made that switch?
The switch from high school to college, yes, definitely night and day. I mean, you take all of the time. Like I said, I played 3 sports, so I had different seasons. Now, all of a sudden, you've taken all of your time and put it towards one specific sport, one specific skill set. You know, you're no longer worried about running up and down a field for field hockey. It's, okay, I'm going to try to get fast for this 60-foot sprint that I have ahead of me. So it was just a different training to the body. I never, I did a few CrossFit, training classes in high school. And I know I'm probably in the small minority of this, but I really didn't lift weights before college. I remember going there and being like, okay, I need to bulk up a little bit because I need to compete at this level. So my eyes definitely were open to a lot of things, especially in the strength and conditioning aspect. Also, just taking all that time and devoting it to just one sport was definitely a transition for me. But I realized that, wow, I can really put a lot of time into this and then become good. And I didn't go with the expectation of starting or doing any of those things. I just went in, and my dad preached this to me before I went. He said, Karlie, all you need to do, go be Karlie. Be yourself. Go work hard and see what the outcome is. Don't worry about initial satisfaction of playing time, any of those things. Just go work your butt off, and the process will take care of itself, and, love the game. And I still remember that today because I think that carries over to so many other things, not just softball, but definitely was a process, going from 2 different levels. You really have to step up your intensity when it comes to training for one specific skill set.
And I know from talking with you, like on your podcast, that your faith plays a big part in your life. So how, so with that, when the college lifestyle, all the different, I guess maybe, like, I don't know how to say it, like different temptations or different, things going on, everything like that. How did you kind of just stay grounded, or how did you grow throughout your college journey?
Sure. Well, again, the transition from high school to college, I think everything is just kind of magnified. So are those temptations. And for me, I went from high school to college, and I thought, oh, that's just how life is now. Life is full of these temptations. And, there were times where I was falling into paths and routes in life, especially in my freshman year and my beginning years of college, where you don't even realize you're falling into the temptation until you look back and say, wow, that's not me. That's not who I wanted to act like. That's not how I wanted to behave. And I think it's so easy to fall into the temptation because everyone's doing it, right? That's just college. It's just the theme. It's party, and this, that, and the other. And so for me, it's tough. It's tough looking back and realizing, wow, probably fell off the wagon a few times there, Carp. But looking back also, I can see how my faith was strengthened because God was walking with me through the times when I was wandering, in the desert, but also in the times when I was at my peak and, glorifying him and everything. And I think it's so funny. I got a cross tattoo on my wrist, I want to say sophomore year of college. And I used to write it on before every single game just because, that was my glove hand. And that's what I wanted to look at. I wanted to glorify God in everything. And I realized looking back now, even though it was still in my mind, it was not at the forefront. And I think when you put God at the forefront of your actions and of your behaviors, then that completely changes your desires and your willingness to step out and take a different path than those temptations. And I also think it just creates more of a selflessness, both in and out of your sport, because my senior year, I remember thinking, wow, this is not about me. I'm here to help other people grow. I'm here to help the team win. I am here just to be a benefit to others. It's ultimately a team sport. It's a team game of a life, basically. But when I got the cross tattoo, I was thinking, man, God, I'm going to come up clutch. I'm going to, point to you after I hit the grand slam, and I'm going to have success, God, and it's because you're in it, So it's just funny how perspectives shift and how much you really do mature. But initially, man, that temptation is real and it'll hit you. So definitely I mean, for anyone listening, just to be aware, to maintain your focus on what's important, and that's God, and that's what his purpose is for you for that next 4 or 5 years, how many ever years you're in college for.
We had temptation at OU, like our cafeteria had Chick-fil-A all you can eat. So like it was so tempting every day for my freshman year to walk in there and not get nuggets 5 times in a row.
Right? Yeah, I went and got the nuggets, the breaded things with the little fried nugget in between. You know what I'm talking about?
That sounds good. I don't know what you're talking about, but I need to get one.
No, the Chick-fil-A breakfast with the little bread thing
little minis.
Yes, the minis. Oh my gosh, that was like the daily. Those were my pirate thoughts. I thought I wasn't actually spending money when I went and ate those. So.
That's awesome. For you, I remember I was looking on your stat sheet, and you were killing on third base. You're third base, and was it second, right? I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, short, third base, left side of the field.
So you were like the Golden Glove of ECU softball.
No, negative. But I did like to play in the dirt. That's for sure.
So throughout that whole journey, as being the college athlete, and what was like your greatest memory from that whole experience?
I would say, I mean, my time at ECU was definitely different. It was a unique experience because my coach my freshman year was not the same coach that I had my senior year. And I think a lot of people go through those coaching shifts and transitions. So looking back, I mean, there were so many highs, and then there were also so many transition moments. So to pick just one is so difficult, but I definitely would say, looking back, my senior year, I just loved the camaraderie that our team had. And that's when it really was, my eyes were kind of awake to the fact that it's so much more than just being there to be, playing softball, so much more than stats and playing time and all that stuff. Even though it's so important still, it's just, you just get a different perspective. And I remember when, I would just sit down with our team and we would have a Bible study, or we would be on the bus and we would have some meetings beforehand. We would just put everything in perspective. And so I think for me, my favorite moment looking back was my senior year, when you just had that friendship and that sisterhood amongst your team. Those were the best times.
And while you were doing, you were being the athlete, you were also covering the athletes. You were doing, what was it called? Karlie's Corner? Or
So we had a segment that was towards the end, that was after softball season, my senior year, called Karlie's Camp, with a K, 2 Ks. That was so much fun.
And what about, I guess, like, why'd you kind of go look into like that kind of media, the reporter route?
Sure. I had always, growing up, been like, I want to be a sports broadcaster, but I thought that was kind of like walking on the moon. Like, I want to be a man. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be, just think of some career that's ludicrous to your current lifestyle. That's kind of what it was. And in high school, I got a glimpse that, okay, this could actually be true, because I did shadow some of the local reporters and kind of got a feeling of what this lifestyle is like to be a sports reporter, what it's like to be in media. But then I went off to school, and I was still focused on softball in the very beginning. And, that's the main priority and everything. So it wasn't until, I want to say, my last 2 years of college that I was like, no, like, let's make this happen. Let's pursue this and actually get after it in terms of, okay, I think it's a fantastic career. It's a competitive industry, but let's go for it. Let's be all into this. And I don't know what made that, confidence in me just to sprout up and be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's pursue this. But I'm sure glad it was definitely the Holy Spirit, but I'm sure glad it sparked up, because I absolutely love what I do. But I think it was just constantly taking little opportunities, whether it was writing in a digital magazine, whether it was interning with a company that covered, maybe women's basketball at the time, or whatever the case was, just taking those little opportunities and continuing to grow my skill set at the time. And so for me to see those opportunities line up and see where it's led me to today has been really awesome. And I'm sure glad that I did go for it.
I think that's so true, because there's just so many athletes that want to get into, broadcast, and they want to work for ESPN. Kind of, I was one of those kids growing up. I want to work for ESPN. So for you, if you can like have your dream job, and like what would that look like?
Oh man, that's hard for me to pinpoint exactly what, because for me, I have no idea what my dream job will be. I know that I want to be a reporter. I would love to be on camera. I would love to be on the sideline interviewing someone. I would love to be in an analyst booth. I absolutely love watching a game and talking about it and looking at stats and learning new sports. I mean, I have so much room to grow in all of that, but eventually that's what I would love to do. So I don't know if there's a specific title. I don't know if it's a reporter or a sports broadcaster, but it's an all-encompassing thing too now, especially with digital media. Someone could be reporting something on the sideline and then 2 seconds later creating social content for a team. So I have no idea what my end-all be-all goal will be. I know whatever it is, I'm going to let God lead me to it, and it'll definitely fulfill all the passions that are in my heart right now. But I would think if there's one endpoint, I would just love to be telling the stories of athletes and their life in sports, because gosh, sports are so cool. I mean, it really is so much more than a game. And I know that sounds cliche, but I mean, you just look at things that happen. Someone hits a home run and it has a significant impact on events that had happened, in their life, or it's just God shows up in super cool ways in sports. And I know I'm drawn to it for a reason. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does. But you know what? If I happen to replace Aaron Andrews and that's my end career, I'm fine with that too. So hire me.
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
I'll just say that I watched through your videos and I listened to your podcast, and you legit have that announcer voice, the way you just present yourself and such. So you're legit A1 with this stuff. So props to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So how'd you land up at UGA? How did that happen?
Again, I mean, I hate to keep pointing. Actually, I love to keep pointing it back. Only God, because after school, I had spent some time doing Karlie's camp and working with ECU athletics, and I loved it so much. I had made such great relationships with the staff there, and just, of course, the athletes there hold such a special part in my heart. But, I was actively seeking new places, new schools to go work for. I had a few schools in different college divisions that I was interested in. And I remember applying for the job and just waiting. I think I probably applied for over a dozen jobs within the past 2 weeks, so it was kind of just in the jumble completely. I was like, all right, which lottery am I going to win? Who's going to take a chance on me, as my first out of the gate kind of real-time gig. And I remember I had a phone call with my boss here at Georgia, and it was fantastic. And he said he'd get back to me. Well, he shortly after did get back to me and said, you have about a week to decide. And me, again, northerner, little Delaware girl who had gone down south from North Carolina, I was like, all right, I think I'm going to go head back up north now, where I can wear a scarf in October and it's not 90 degrees. But God had other plans. So here I go, heading down to Georgia. And I just said, okay, if I'm meant to be here, I know God's going to bless it and it's going to work out. But it was really scary. I did not know anyone. I have never been to Georgia, except we did play Georgia in softball one time, but that was just a quick tournament in and out. So it was just definitely a whirlwind. I didn't know where to live, reached out to people. It was just an exciting adventure. And looking back, oh my gosh, I had no idea what was coming my way. It was seriously, it's so incredible to see just how God really provides abundantly, more than we could ever ask or imagine for. So what I thought was just putting myself out there and seeing what the luck of the draw would be, which job I would get first, turned out to be the most amazing opportunity that if I could go back over, 11 times out of 10, I would take this job right out of the gate. It's been such a blessing.
I love it. It's almost like you were kind of working in faith.
Oh, completely. I think so many people too, after college, it's just the stress of, okay, I need to get a job. I need to move here for my career. But it really plays out in perfect timing, because if I had gotten a job immediately out of the gate, okay, I graduate May 4th, May 5th, I start my next job, I wouldn't have had that time at ECU to continue to work on my craft. And I think that was all part of the preparation for, okay, now I'm going to move you to Georgia, and it's going to be crazy, and you're not going to see it coming, and it's going to hit you in the face, and you're going to have to pack all your stuff up and leave. But when you take that leap, you're equipped and you're prepared for each step of it. So it's just cool. I think a lot of times we don't realize that we're meant to take on different things and go different places, and it might come at us quick, or we might not know what's on the other side, but oh my gosh, it's so worth it.
I read this thing on somewhere the other day, and it was that God gives us more than we can handle, but we trust in Him.
Yeah.
And
luckily, because we don't have to handle it ourselves.
Yeah. So for you, you're kind of, now you're in Georgia, you're eating some good Southern food.
A little, yeah.
Awesome. So in this mix of, landing in Georgia, working for the athletic department, being a game day and all of that, you decided to launch a podcast. What inspired you to take that media challenge on?
Being in Georgia, there's so much going on. By the way, I would like to point out, I still don't drink sweet tea. I'll drink unsweet tea. So I still have my roots. To me. But no, being in Georgia and having a crazy schedule. I mean, anyone who works in athletics knows that it's a 7-day-a-week job, and all hours of the day, it's kind of can be filled with sports. I mean, sports are ongoing, and we love it, and that's why we do it. But it is busy. But last year, my first year in Georgia, I had been on a few different podcasts, and I kind of had the idea, Spirit just had given me this idea to combine sports and faith. I mean, you always see athletes with bios that say Jeremiah 29:11, or you see athletes give credit to God the first thing in a post-game speech. So I thought, how cool would it be if I turned on the TV and was watching a 30 for 30 on how, I'm just going to pick a random athlete, on how Cam Newton, how God was at the forefront of his life, and, this certain event happened, and he saw God show up in that. How cool would that be to learn that side of it, especially for people who are looking for motivation in sports and want more out of it? And so I just thought, okay, that's a cool idea, maybe someday in the future. Well, then I was doing a few podcasts with other people, was getting the ideas. People kept sparking the idea of, oh, yeah, you could do that. You would be good at it. And I was like, okay, sure. I hear you, God. Okay, motivation. But I actually got a microphone sent in the mail to me from someone that I did a podcast with. And I was kind of like, whoa, I really am physically equipped with everything I need. I have my voice, and I now have this microphone, and I have people who are really firm in their faith and are doing things with sports that would just be fantastic stories. So, it's a lot. It still is a lot. And I think we've talked about this before. There's times when you really don't feel like editing or reaching out to someone and trying to find and dig to get that new story. But I really do think that God puts passions in our heart and desires for a reason. And when we follow those, He creates time and allows us to get things done that on our own we definitely wouldn't be able to. So even though it's probably, a lot on a plate, that's how I personally think I was wired, to do multiple things at once and to, kind of have my hand in various things. And I know God's going to bless it regardless. So
it's that athlete mindset.
It's been a journey.
It's that athlete mindset, and just want to do it all.
Yeah. I mean, think about that. When you're a student athlete, you've got to go to class, you've got to go to practice, you've got lift in the morning, then you've got study hall, you try to have a social life,
Mm-hmm.
got to put God first still. So it's a lot of different things going on at once, but I think it's cool because then you get to do a lot of things at once.
So let me ask you this. So if you were to like pause or I guess like go back in time, right? And you can talk to like 8-year-old Karlie Smith in Delaware. What would you tell her about the journey that's coming?
Get ready, buckle up, girlfriend, because you have no idea what's going on. Oh gosh, I would literally just say, Karlie, be yourself, no matter what you're going through. I know my grandfather, who used to be so close to me, used to tell me before every game, he would go, JBK, just be Karlie. And that's kind of followed throughout my career. But I mean, seriously, just be yourself. And again, that's probably a really cliche saying, but no matter where we go, the world is constantly, changing us and transforming us. But if we keep God at the forefront and we just keep him with us throughout our journey, it's cool how he transforms us and changes us and matures us into people. And I feel like the more I've matured, the more I've really become myself and stepped into who I was created to be. So if I could tell myself when I was 8, what to do, I would say just, be yourself and just be Karlie and be joyful and go out and work hard and commit your works to the Lord and love people and love God and try to do all those things, but, just be who God made you to be.
It was JBK?
Yeah, that's what my grandfather used to say all the time. He would go, JBK. It's great.
I may steal that, JBJ.
Seriously, it's a great reminder. It's funny too. God'll use people in my life to tell me that. They'll just say, just be Karlie, and they would have never known that holds any type of significance to me. But watch, it'll start showing up in your life.
I love it. So some question for you. So your favorite verse, what is it?
Wow, I would say probably 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. It's the love verse, which I've always thought was like mushy gushy only for weddings and everything, but it's really been transformative. I think love is transformative as a whole. Do you want me to go into why I like it?
Yeah, go for it.
I actually have it on my wall so I can read it just while I'm on the podcast, but it says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. And if that's love, then that's exactly what I want to be. So a verse that I used to think was only shared in holy matrimony at a wedding is something that I taken into account every single day of my life, because if God's love and we're created to be more Christ-like images of God, then I want to be loved and I want to be all those things. And there's days where I probably check off 2 out of whatever on the list. I'm not batting 1,000, that's for sure, but I want to try to, because I think all of those things are just fantastic. And if you can encompass, at least one of those as a person, then you're on the road to something really cool.
That's awesome. God ever really hits every aspect of life.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Wow. Karlie, when I talk to you, I get inspired and I feel like the Holy Spirit and stuff, because I don't know, I feel like I can tell you have a heart that's really just pure for stuff. So good. I'm glad talking with you right now.
Oh gosh, thank you. It's only God. It truly is only God, because, just gotta ask him to speak through you sometimes.
Definitely. So last question for you. So where are you at social media wise, website, when we can find more about you?
So I believe I am at Karlie Smith _17. I think that's my social handle for everything. It's kind of basic. Okay. 17 was my number in college, and first name, last name. So at Karlie Smith _17.
It makes it easy to find, so it works.
Yes. Right.
Well, Karlie, like it's really great. It's great talking to you and great connecting with you the last few weeks, and I look forward to seeing you on the big screen.
Oh gosh, wouldn't that be cool?
I'm like, I interviewed her.
Who knows? Well, who knows? Like literally, I think it's so cool. Just like the connections that God gives, they're not accidental at all. So really appreciate it.
Well, enjoy the rest of your night and try some sweet tea soon.
No, thanks.
Yo, thanks for listening to this episode of the 9 Point Started With a Dream podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please comment, share, leave a review. We would love to hear your thoughts. You can find more athlete-driven content at 9point.com. Till the next episode, you're only one opportunity away. Peace.